over the course of the month, you've eaten 25,000 extra calories, which is like £7.
That doesn't even sound like that much. I've had more clients than I can count who have gone every Christmas I gain £20.
One day is just one day, but Christmas has become more than one day.
6 weeks even before Christmas. It's Christmas.
It can soon add up. We are going to guess how many calories are in the Christmas treats. I'd say about 350.
380?
We've got an eggnog over here. Who eats 10 chips? Come on.
I don't think I've ever eaten 10 Doritos in my life. A dip as well.
Healthy option. Luxury mince pie here.
Oh my God, a tiny, tiny mince pie. I could eat that in 2 bites. Wow. I'm still shocked at that.
Everyone is like, oh, it's Christmas. It's fine. It's only one cookie.
The peer pressure is real.
It doesn't have to be that spiral of the whole month being a write-off.
It just makes January just suck. Damage control can 100% be done.
The thing that I find really helpful is...
Hi, I'm Jaymie.
And I'm Stacey.
And this is the Body Smart Podcast.
And we are women's weight loss experts on a mission to empower you to feel in control permanently of your weight and your health. And at this time of year, it can feel like a bit of an uphill battle.
Yes.
So we have a Christmas special for you today because it can create quite a lot of stress at this time of year, especially when you know the average number of calories consumed on Christmas Day. I did get you to guess this last year, and you were pretty close, actually. Do you remember what it was?
I say like 5,500.
Yeah, it's actually like 6,000 to 7,000 calories on Christmas Day. So if you are on a weight loss journey, you're probably like, well, that's just going to undo all my hard work. But the main underlying theme of today's episode is not that it's going to undo all your hard work, because one day is just one day.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. Enjoy yourself, enjoy your time with family, get back on the horse the next day. But what we really want to talk about today is the fact that Christmas has become more than one day.
Yes. It's really become like the month, hasn't it, to an extent.
Yeah.
Or like we get into like December and it becomes, it's like the 6 weeks even before Christmas. Like it's so even further than that, probably like the last week or two in November.
I'd say probably even in America, like from Thanksgiving, it's all bets are off.
Yeah. And it just becomes, like, it's Christmas, you know, we're covering up a little bit more. We're a little bit more, like, you know, it's darker outside, we hibernate a little bit, and comfort food, warm food, hot food.
Yeah.
But then the parties and the Christmas parties and
there's
everything
just
else.
treats everywhere. Like you go in the office, there's treats. You go to like school's got loads more events on, and you go into like see your kids show, and there's chocolate cake or whatever.
And then a hot chocolate with
mulled
whipped cream
wine.
and marshmallows. Yeah, it's just like, and you're like, oh, that was only one hot chocolate that had 700 calories in it.
Yeah. And actually, I did write out, like, if we think, even somebody who's been quite conservative over the course of December, if you think, they've got their Christmas day, 7,000 calories. So that's like 5K extra just on that one day of like just ballpark maintenance figures for a woman. Then maybe you've got like an extra Christmas dinner that you have with friends or like work colleagues or whatever. So another 5K. Then you've got leftovers.
The leftovers the next day.
So that's like 3 to 5K.
Yeah.
Then you've got your work's Christmas party, maybe another Christmas party. That's a couple extra thousand that you have in drinks and snacks on that day.
Some pretty
each time.
hungover days maybe the next day where you don't make the best food choices.
Right. And then you've got like, a gingerbread man or a gingerbread cookie, maybe just a couple of times a week, or a mince pie. It's only one a week or whatever.
It's the festive season.
Well, that's like maybe 1,000 calories a week for 4 weeks, 4,000 calories. Maybe like a festive cheese and wine night with your girlfriends, a couple of extra 1,000 calories. And then before you know it, over the course of the month, you've eaten 25,000 extra calories.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Which is like £7 equivalent of energy.
Yeah.
Which is in
Should have
kilos,
brought the
like
fat prop in.
3 to 4 kilos.
It's
of
a
extra
lot.
fat.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can see how when we listed those out, that's not someone who's going bananas every day. Like it's just like a couple of Christmas parties, a couple of extras a week, not even a day.
Yeah.
It can soon add up. And so what we really want to talk about today is how it doesn't have to be that spiral of the whole month being a write-off, because actually you can lose weight in December, or you can also be like, I just don't want it to go as wild as it normally does, and just focus on almost like damage control.
Yeah.
Of like, how can I just make sensible choices, still enjoy the season, but not cause my weight to go up this Christmas?
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing for a lot of our clients. Every year it goes up.
Every year it goes up, and then you start January, you feel bloated, you feel heavy, you feel sluggish, you've gained a load of weight, and it's like, it just makes January just suck even
Yeah.
more, which is like, you know, typically you're writing down your goals, you're looking forward to the new year, you're excited, but like for a lot of people, they're going into the new year feeling, I've gained a load of weight, I've got to go back to the gym, I've got to start dieting, and it feels like an uphill battle from day one, which is not where you want to be. You want to be on the front foot forward.
Yeah, or at least starting from a level playing field. So what we wanted to talk about today was the tools that you can use through the rest of the month to feel a bit more in control and to make decisions that feel like they balance being able to enjoy yourself and enjoy the season, but also not put yourself in that situation in January where you're like, oh, why did I do it again? And a lot of it comes down to our relationship with food, because in reality, you know, there are many things that contribute to us struggling with our weight, and yeah, maybe hunger is one, maybe physical activity is another. But this time of year, let's face it, none of this is to do with those. It's to do with our relationship with food.
Yeah, we should have really said there's a bunch of food.
Oh yeah, if you're not watching this on YouTube and you can't see, we have got a smorgasbord of Christmas treats in front of us right now.
Yeah, a lot of food.
And Christmas, it's a special time of year for a lot of people. And it's also a time where traditionally it is about like indulging and like enjoying and just being a bit more gung-ho about everything indulgent, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so it can bring many emotions and like connections with food. And I wanted to explain actually emotional eating. I want to go into this in a bit more depth, because people think of emotional eating as being like, I'm sad, I want chocolate. But there's so much more to emotional eating.
Yeah. I mean, like we for some people, we eat when we celebrate, we eat when we're happy, we eat when we're sad, we eat because we're bored. You know, there's so many different emotions that are wrapped up in food. And especially around, you know, Christmas, there's a lot of people like Christmas is a really like sad time because it's a reminder of the people that maybe you've lost. And that can, you know, you can turn to food as a way of comfort or memory. But again, food also brings people together, and it's like, oh, it's tradition that we have this breakfast and do this around Christmas. And again, they're all great things and can be celebrated, but there's a lot of emotional drivers pushing you towards food in those circumstances. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's just having that awareness of like where you want to push and pull.
Yeah, and also once you are aware, like the reason I really want to eat that gingerbread cookie is just because it's linked to a happy memory for me. It's not actually that the gingerbread cookie makes me really happy in and of itself. That then takes the power away from that food, and it allows you to maybe have like a little bit of a gingerbread cookie, have a reminisce, and then put the rest back or give it to your husband or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just kind of frees you from the power of those emotional connections, because they are really powerful.
They are, yeah.
And so that's one factor. Another factor is stress. I'm not going to lie. I've got so many friends, and like my mum is one. I know we were talking earlier about like Steph's mum is one, where the stress of wanting everybody to have a perfect Christmas just feels like it takes over in December. Like you want a house to look lovely. You want to make sure you've got the right presents for everyone. You want to make sure I'm hosting, which could be so fun on being 9 months pregnant. But you know,
I think we're hosting this year,
yeah.
which I've never done before.
And so you've got all that going on, and you're also trying to hold down a normal job. Maybe your kids have got extra stuff going on after school, so you're trying to fit that in as well. So you're stressed. You're not maybe looking after yourself the best because you're trying to do all that stuff. You're sleeping a bit poorly. You're drinking more alcohol. All of this compounds, and actually just eating a little bit of extra energy to get you through the day makes a lot of logical sense. You got a lot to do. And so there are practical factors like that as well at play, which are different to maybe if you're in January and you're trying to focus on your health and fitness. There's a lot less going on. It's a lot easier to be focused. And then the other one that I wanted to bring up was the fact that for many people, if you've been trying to lose weight all year and you've been good, quote unquote, all year, and you get to December and there's suddenly this reason where everyone is like, oh, it's Christmas, it's fine, it's only one cookie, it's only this.
The peer pressure is real.
Yeah, and also you're like, yeah, you're right, I've been really good for like 11 months, yeah. So everybody's kind of tapping into what you kind of want to be able to do, and they're justifying it, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to have the chocolate.
Yeah.
But you don't really want to go down that route.
Yeah, I think it depends, doesn't it? It just depends. Like sometimes maybe you do, but it's just where that line's drawn for you. You know what I mean? Like if that's starting to happen every day, every other day. And as you said, you can start to count up like, I'm having thousands of extra calories. I'm maybe not losing weight anymore. And that was the goal. I've now plateaued, or I'm now gaining weight. And again, just always like remember, like a big thing we say to anyone who's trying to lose weight is that it's a season. And there's many seasons in life, but like losing weight is one of them. And for some people, just like weight maintenance through Christmas is a perfectly fine goal. But like weight maintenance still takes quite a bit of conscious thought, because you can't just eat and drink everything. And sometimes even when you give people permission, like, well, I'm not going to lose weight through Christmas. I'm just going to maintain the sort of like way you were navigating things now is like, well, that's maybe off limits. That isn't. So I'm going to portion this. It's like, oh, I'm at maintenance. Well, and even that can spiral into people gaining a lot more weight. And the most difficult part about this, and anyone will know this if they've ever like really pursued a goal, is that it's so much harder to restart than it is to just start from the beginning. So if you've currently got that momentum and you're feeling good, and then you just kind of pull the rug out from underneath yourself, and like kind of one cookie turned into two, and then it turned into day 2, day 3, day 5, day 7, you get to January 1st, and you're like, how have I gained 10 pounds? I feel awful. Like getting started again then, the amount of willpower it takes to just go is so hard. And we see it with like a lot of clients. It's very, very difficult.
Especially if you had made progress and then you feel like you've backslid. Because that's really demoralising.
Yeah, imagine you've lost 15 pounds up to this point, and then over Christmas you gain 10. You're like, well, I've only lost 5 pounds now. What's the point? You know, you a lot of that 10 pounds would probably be water and you know, just a little bit of bloating. You would drop a lot of it in probably like week 1 of getting back at it. But trying to tell yourself that when you've gained 10 pounds and you're feeling awful on January 1st is a difficult pill to swallow.
Yeah. So let's talk about realistic goals then at this time of year. I think it's really important that people are honest with themselves of like, what do I want? Like, if I wake up on the 26th of December, what will I actually be okay with? And start there. And then be like, right, with everything I've got going on, what is realistic? Because for a lot of people, they could really like carry on as normal with maybe one day a week where they have a party or something. They eat at maintenance for that one day a week. But actually, over the course of December, they could still lose weight very successfully. We've had lots of clients do that and surprise themselves beyond belief because they never thought that was possible. And they've still enjoyed the odd Christmas party and so on. But for some people, they might be like, do you know what? I just want to press pause for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And there's no right or wrong, but it's setting that expectation for yourself and being clear with what am I going to be at peace with the outcome? Because that's the difference, is waking up on Boxing Day or the 26th of December and being annoyed with yourself or being like, yeah, no, this is what I expected and I'm okay with it. That's a very big difference.
And also, like, for the people who do choose to maintain, it's still keeping up the other healthy habits. So you're giving yourself permission to eat more calories, have that extra glass of wine or eggnog or whatever it is that you want. You eat a little bit more food, but you still keep up your workouts and you still keep up hitting your steps and you still try to prioritize protein in your meals. So like you don't feel like if the scale doesn't move or even if the scale goes back up a little bit, when you come to January 1st, it's not that you've had 2 weeks off hitting your steps, doing your workouts, not eating well. And then, because that's, now you're just like, oh, well, my weight's up a little bit, but you can clearly see it's because you ate more calories and you know that. So that's empowering to an extent. It's like, okay, I've just now got to go back to
and it's only
more
one
calorie
thing
control.
That you have to now bring back in because everything else stayed stable.
Yeah.
Although I would say for a lot of people this time of year, you've maybe got time off work, maybe you're going visiting family, you're staying not at home, changing routine. It can feel like that's another hurdle to keeping up your healthy habits.
My advice here, if you're moving around, you're staying at family, you're staying at friends, do it early. Get it done early.
Get what done?
Like your workout or your steps or whatever else.
Day.
So you've got a full family day out, everything's starting at like maybe a bit later, 9 o'clock, 9:30. Like get up, get your workout done, go outside, go for a run, go for a walk, even if it's up and snowing, but say you'll shovel the snow off the drive for the morning. I don't know, like do something, get yourself active and get it done early. Because once, especially when you've got a day like that and you're out all day and there's loads of things that are going to be unpredictable, if you can get up and get it done early, it makes such a difference. And that's especially like we already have enough excuses on your typical routine at home of not to exercise or not to get a walk in. But when you're away and you're in like a bit of a more of a special environment and at someone else's house or whatever else, it makes it it's just like it just makes it so much harder to convince yourself not to do it.
Yeah, and actually it can feel like you're encroaching on their plans or their space or whatever. So you just get up before everyone else is up.
Yeah.
Even if it's just half an hour, like you said, get it done, and then no one else needs to be affected, but you know you've done your thing for you. The other thing that I would say is a lot of the time, especially in the UK at least, you've actually got more time on your hands at this time of year because a lot of people have got time off, or you've got more family around who could watch the kids for you. Or there's actually a lot of positives if you look for them. There's a lot of things that can play in your favour.
Yeah.
And so rather than thinking default is, well, I can't because I'm not in my normal routine, actually, what about this new routine makes it easier for me to take time out for myself or go for that run or do some meal prep? Because there's always two sides to every coin. And often at this time of year, there are some positives in terms of a bit more time or a bit more help.
Yeah. And again, take advantage of that, capitalise on it. Like, not everything has to be, like, for some people, having that time off is like a great time to be like, yeah, I'm going to actually prioritise on my fitness and my training a little bit more. It depends. Everyone has got their own unique lives and circumstances that they're dealing with. And I think having clarity will give you a little bit more peace of mind around what you want out of the next couple of weeks. I think when you go into things quite loosely and then everything just happens to you, you lose that sense of control. And that makes you spiral a little bit in the sense of like, you just like, how is it January 2nd and I feel this bad? Like, what's happened? And then you kind of spiral like how even further versus like going in and be like, right, I know what obstacles are going to possibly happen. Here's a plan B, and that's how I'm going to best deal with it. I mean, that just gives you so much more peace of mind.
So tip number 1 is going to be set your intentions for the Christmas period. What do you want to wake up feeling like on 26th of December, 2nd of January? And what does that mean for you in terms of what habits you need to stick with, what calorie goals you're going to stick with? Have intention.
Yeah, and we have had clients who are like, this is one Christmas out of all the other Christmases I'm going to have in my whole life. And for this season of Christmas, you know what? I'm going to enjoy Christmas Day a little bit and maybe one other time. And that's enough. Like, for me, prioritising my health and fitness and continuing to lose weight through this period is the most important thing for me right now. Next Christmas, I'll indulge a little bit more. And they've done that and continued to lose weight and see progress through that time and enjoyed it and still being social. They've just said no in certain situations. And that's been great for them. You know what I mean? For other people, they don't want to do that. And I think it is just really having that intentionality, but like a really honest conversation with yourself, not like one where you're kidding yourself going, well, maintenance would be nice for a couple of weeks, wouldn't it? And then like you kind of just, that turns into you being very loose and then hating yourself come January 2nd. So I think just really honest intentionality.
Actually, that's a good point. I think we should probably clarify, if you want to eat at calorie maintenance, there is, same as if you're trying to eat in a deficit, there is still a need to keep an eye on the calorie intake at this time of year because it can easily sneak up on you, which we're going to get into in a minute.
Yes.
And so I would recommend, if you are currently trying to lose weight, but you want to eat at maintenance, I would still track your food because you will be surprised at how easily you can tip over from maintenance into a surplus, which means you will gain the weight. And if you're not sure what you should be aiming for maintenance, then if you go over to bodysmartfitness.com, go to the calorie quiz, it will give you a maintenance figure as well as a weight loss figure. So you can kind of have that number in your mind of what you're aiming for, because it doesn't just mean free for all.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't mean free for all. No. I would say, this is categorically off working with thousands of women right now, when people have quote unquote taken a diet break or done what we've just said here, I'd say over 90% really fuck it up. Because it's almost like you've been really in a calorie deficit, and it's like it's this, you know, taking the leashes off or whatever you want to call it, and it's just like, oh, everything else is, and it's like, it's 500 calories. 500 calories is one cookie. You know what I mean? It's not that much more sometimes, or it could be a little bit more than that. I think you've still got to really be intentional and mindful about it. Otherwise, you can end up in that position. And that has always been my like warning of like, hey, maintenance isn't eat whatever you want. Maintenance is a little bit more than you currently have, and to give you a little bit more freedom and choices.
Yeah. And that awareness is so key. So there was a study a couple of years ago in the British Medical Journal, which they looked at like, how can we help people manage their weight over Christmas? And so they did it over a period of 4 to 8 weeks in the lead up to Christmas, and they split people into 2 groups, and they said to one group, right, like, we're going to give you some information about general healthy eating and how, in theory, to not gain weight. Mm-hmm. And then the other group, they gave them some more specific interventions. So they asked them to regularly weigh themselves still,
Yeah.
They gave them some like practical tips, which we're talking about today on the episode. And they also gave them the information of like these common Christmas treats, it would take this much exercise to burn them off. Now, I don't particularly agree with that exact approach,
No.
but the awareness of like, this is how many calories are in the treats that you might indulge in at Christmas, super important. And so the difference between those two groups, they're not huge amounts, but I think mentally it's a really significant study because the ones who had the more specific guidance, weighing themselves, knowing how many calories were in the treats, they lost weight over that period. And yes, it was around half pound, it wasn't loads. But the ones who also had guidance on healthy living and had general guidance on how to not put on weight, they gained nearly a pound.
Yeah.
So if you think mentally, even losing like 0.1 of a pound over Christmas, for most people would be a massive win, versus the other group had all the information still in theory, but just a bit more vague, they gained weight. So just being more informed and being more aware about what you're eating, what's in it, it can make such a difference. And also still weighing yourself and keeping that little eye and being like, hey, I might still be trying to maintain rather than lose weight, but I still need to make sure I am doing that and not just avoid everything, avoid the scale everything and deal with it in January.
Yeah.
So on that note, we've been shopping and we're going to play a little game.
Sorry, just to add to that.
Yeah.
That doesn't even sound like that much, like a pound. I've had
No.
more clients than I can count who have gone, I gain 20 pounds every Christmas. Every Christmas I gain 20 pounds. And I'm like, you are kidding me. like I remember the first time I heard that, I was like shocked. And they're like, oh, this is the first time I've not gained either any weight or even lost weight through Christmas or gained a pound, which was being like liberating for them. And then the second client said it to me, like around like 18 pounds. And then again. And I was like, oh, like, wow. So
I'd
like,
say about 10 is the average that I've heard.
yeah,
as well, yeah.
and that's a lot. That is a lot. It's going to be more pressure on your joints. You're going to feel more inflamed. You're going to have probably some gut issues. You're going to feel heavy. So damage control through this season, if you don't want to feel that way, can 100% be done. And you're not alone being like the only person that's happened to. But it does start to take these awareness and steps that we've been talking about.
Yes.
Right, back to the treats.
One of their game. So we've got some Christmas treats and we are going to guess how many calories are in the Christmas treats because we thought it'd be fun and also meant we got to go and buy loads of treats on big expenses and eat them all. So, all right, let's start with, I don't know, do they have mince pies in America? Is that a thing?
I don't think it is. Is it?
So we have a luxury mince pie here.
Mince pie.
For those of you in America, if you don't have these, they don't have mince meat in. They don't even call it that. They call it ground beef, don't they? But fun fact, they did used to have meat in. That's why they're called mince pies.
I didn't know they didn't have mince in anymore.
Oh yeah, they're just like dried fruit. And
Fair.
everyone's learning something about a mince pie
shows
today.
how out of touch I am. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a little pastry thing with some like sweet dried fruit and lots of sugar on top. How many calories do you think for one of these bad boys?
I'm gonna say 147.
Ooh. Yeah. Oh, I am going to say, because I think they're like the extra special version, not the cheapo version, 220.
220.
Ready? For the big reveal? 287.
Oh my God, I thought I was a human MyFitnessPal. I've just...
That's you. So you were nearly like 100% out.
Wow.
Yeah. And look how small it is. It's not even the size of your
I mean,
hand.
it is glazed with sugar on top, isn't it? But yeah, it's tiny. I could eat that in 2 bites. And because it's that small, I would definitely eat 2.
Yeah. So that would be 600 calories. So your maintenance of like an extra 500 calories gone.
That shocked me. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So
it looks I shocked. I was like, what the hell?
Let's go for something a bit healthier, because maybe if you were at a buffet and there was a mince pie, you were like, well, obviously that's a cake. I'm not going to eat that. I'll have that.
But I don't even think it looks like a cake. It's like a little mince pie.
It's like a biscuit. Yeah. Shocking. Festive fruit and nut mix. Healthy option.
Okay.
Okay. Like this is 30 grams. It's a little like ramekin. So
that whole thing's 30 grams.
Yeah. So
like
it's a handful.
Oh, it's a pretty full palmful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got some nice macadamias in there. Some cherries. What are we saying?
170.
Yeah, I'm going to say a bit higher again. I think about 210. Are we ready?
Survey says.
Oh, 137.
Oh, okay. So,
That's actually quite decent. If you look at the size of that compared to that.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep you way fuller. And it'll take you longer to eat that.
The issue is, so you've just, like we said, that's a good way of looking at it, like a palmful. Because the issue with, like, I'd say anything like nuts or raisins and all that type of stuff, it's often in just like a giant endless bowl that you just keep taking another handful, taking another handful, taking another handful.
That's actually a really good practical tip. If you have got something like a big bowl at a buffet, take yourself a small bowl, get your portion that you're comfortable with, and just stick with that rather than eating out of a big bowl.
What I do with, or I always try and do this with foods that I know I want to indulge in, but I know I will just keep indulging on. So like, I don't know, Doritos or chocolate or anything like that. I try to have like a drink afterwards or like a hot drink, and it just cleanses your palate. And when you don't have that like compulsion to just go back and have more because the taste is left your mouth with the drink.
Did you know we have an award-winning one-on-one coaching program designed especially for women aged over 30 who want to lose between 15 and 60 pounds? Just like this podcast, our Body Smart method cuts through all the BS out there and brings together the latest weight loss science to fast-track your weight loss. Find out just how we can guarantee we can help you lose 15 to 60 pounds in the next 6 months at bodysmartfitness.com. Talking of Doritos, we've got some here. Chips and dip.
Chips and dip.
So we've got Doritos cheesy dip and 10 chips of Doritos, which I'm not going to lie to our editor Jess. Who eats 10 chips? Come on.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's not much at all, is it?
It's probably because she's looked at the calories and thought, what's a sensible portion for me to put out for them? But 10 chips, I mean, again, that's probably a handful, like a generous handful of chips and dip. What would you say?
For both of them together?
Yeah.
Oof. Like, what? So two is that tablespoons?
2 tablespoons of dip.
2 tablespoons, not teaspoons.
Tablespoons. She's being generous.
Tablespoons is all, that's a lot of dip, right?
Yeah, but you scoop
for
that.
10
Come
crisps.
on, you don't dip, you scoop it,
I'm going to go like 100 per tablespoon. It's like 200, and then the crisps like 90, 290. Oh, I feel like that's even.
Yeah, I think the chips are going to be like 120, and then
I'm
with you, 100 each on the
340.
Dip. Okay, so you're going 340. I'm going 320. Ready?
Yep.
Chips are only 104 for 10.
Okay.
And the dip is only 82 calories for 2 tablespoons. That's actually quite a good deal.
It's like 270.
No. 186.
No, it's two.
Yeah, no, that's what she's done it for.
No
the portion.
way.
Got fact checked here.
Yeah, you are getting fact checked. It says per 40 grams, 82 calories. Oh shit.
Okay, so if you want to have chips and dip, Doritos Nacho Cheese is your one.
That wouldn't be my one because I don't think I've ever eaten 10 Doritos in my life. It's always turned into like, especially in one of those big bags, like half the flipping bag. Especially with a dip as well. It's just like.
But surprisingly low. So that's your Doritos. What about another sweet treat? We've got some. This is quite a British thing.
This is, yeah.
Right, ready?
Quality treat in
1, 2,
3. Okay. Catch.
3 quality street. I don't think they have quality street or similar in America.
No?
Do
Do you know? They have quality street in America. They don't? No.
This is like a thing in the UK. If you go to like your nan's, they have a bowl of quality street out all December, don't they?
It's a very like posh. Is it posh or is it
it
just,
posh? Oh, am I posh?
No, I don't. I mean, you are posh, yeah. Well, they're not as nice with the shiny wrappers.
No, they're trying to be eco. But three quality street, easily put away with a cup of tea.
130. I don't know,
I reckon
40
about
each.
140.
Yeah, each.
Oh,
You got it.
Gram reveal.
Okay. 130.
130.
Yeah,
Ooh, you
there
get a
go.
point.
Bang on.
Nice. Okay, so without going into all of the other treats, I did just want to touch on some drinks because this is also a time of year where alcohol is probably a bit more prevalent. Mm-hmm. So we've got an eggnog over here. We don't really have that here, so I'm completely in the dark. I've got no idea.
Premium eggnog with 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. There's not much in cinnamon. I'm going to say like 180.
I have absolutely no idea what's even in eggnog, so
That's like
it looks quite creamy.
Yeah, creamy, fatty milk.
Yeah, 200?
And then a shot of alcohol.
265.
Oh,
Yeah. And
oh my God.
this one's more up my street.
Box fizz.
Bit of bubbles.
That's normally pretty low in calories for a glass.
Yeah.
Or is it for the bottle?
For a glass.
Like
But a bowl might be more realistic.
a bottle of 6 glasses, isn't it? A bottle's more realistic.
Yeah, I reckon it's only about 100 a glass.
Let's say like 80.
77.
77.
Ooh, good skills. Okay, last one. Peppermint mocha frappuccino.
Peppermint mocha frappuccino. God. 300 is that a large one from
Yeah.
Starbucks? 380?
Ooh, yeah, I'd say about 350. 440.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So even just those treats that we've listed off today, I think if you went to a Christmas party, you could easily eat the mince pie, a couple chips and dips, some nuts, 3 chocolates, glass of bubbles, a drink, and a coffee on the way, and be like, oh, it wasn't that much.
And you've had like 1,500 calories.
Easy. Easy.
Yeah.
So the awareness is key. Feel free to play this game at home. It was very fun. But the point is, if you are at a buffet, you're probably not going to stand there, get your phone out and be like, oh, let me check all each of these things before I eat them. That's not realistic. We don't want you to live your life like that. But before you go in, like just being generally aware, like what might be the better choices. As we talked about, obviously whole foods are going to be more satiating. You're going to know you've had them for longer. Things that you can portion out is really helpful. Things that are covered in sugar, give away.
Yeah.
They're full of sugar. They're full of calories.
I'm still shocked at that. 200. That's a tiny, tiny mince pie.
Yeah.
I mean, if they did have mince pies in America, you know they're going to be like 3 times the size of that as well.
Yeah.
Because everything's like supersized.
So, no,
It's true.
Yeah. Know vaguely what you're getting yourself into, I think is the best advice. And then next up on the agenda is once you know roughly what's in the food, eat it mindfully.
Yes.
Because there's nothing worse than having all that food, getting home, you can't even remember eating it, you didn't really enjoy
And you're
it.
still hungry.
Yeah. And you're like, why did I even do that? I didn't even want it. It was just there. And so I thought it would be helpful to go through a few mindful eating tips.
Okay. I will just add as well, like food regret is the worst.
Especially when you didn't even enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh my God. This just. Yeah, it is the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hunger. I did want to talk about hunger. Let's be honest. At this time of year, you're probably not eating these foods because you're hungry. It's probably more because it's there. But if you are trying to still aim for weight loss, checking in with yourself of like, am I actually hungry, will allow you to then make a better decision of like, well, no, I'm not, but I'm going to have something just because I fancy it. And that's okay. But then you're more likely to make a more mindful decision because you know why you're choosing it. So we've got a little tip called the broccoli test or the turkey test. So if you would quite happily have a piece of broccoli or like a slice of cold cut turkey and that would sort you out right now, probably hungry. If the idea of that's like, nah, it's probably not hunger. It's just because it's there or you fancy it or there's emotional connection or you're bored or whatever. So check in with yourself with the turkey test. It's very seasonal. And then you can make a decision depending on what serves you in that moment. The other one is our Coach Brooks. Great catchphrase.
Yes. Which is if you like it, leave it. And if you love it, have it.
Yeah.
Which is really powerful because it kind of just gives you like a bit of decision like, is this okay? Do I just like this or do I love it? You know, and it's, celebrations. Have you had the Maltesers in the celebrations?
Oh, yeah.
They're
Do they even have Maltesers in America?
Don't say that. Surely, yeah.
You're missing out if you don't.
But you only get those like special Malteser ones that have like the chocolate caramel thing in the middle. You only get them in a box of celebrations, which you typically only get around Christmas. So I love them. So like that's one of those things that like I'm like, oh, I love that.
Are you one of those people that goes through and picks all the good chocolates out and leaves the rest of the box?
Yeah, who likes a bounty? You know what I mean? Nobody likes a bounty.
Says they do, but I don't think they're as popular.
Yeah.
Someone's saying it's not available,
Missing out.
So, yeah.
So if you just like it, it could be one of those things where you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, why did I have that? I didn't even really like it that much.
Yeah.
But if you love it, go for it. Enjoy it mindfully. Next up is play the taste game. This is a good one as well with things like a big bowl of chips. Maybe the first one or two tastes really good. And so the taste game is, as you take your first mouthful, rate it out of 10. Like, how good is it? Hopefully you've already decided to only have something that you love anyway. So you're like, 10.
Yeah.
I flipping love this dip, 10. Next mouthful, you're like, 8. And when it gets like a 7 or a 6, then you can kind of ask yourself, right, what am I eating this for then? Because I'm not hungry. It's not like a 10 out of 10 love it anymore. So it's much easier to just go, okay, I've obviously had enough to satisfy that little itch and push the rest away. So just that's a very practical way of mindful eating. Because a lot of people, when you say mindful eating, they think, I've got to sit in a quiet room with a candle and like meditate on the texture of my food.
That's probably what I thought about it the first time I heard it. Yeah.
I'm not talking about that. It's
Yeah.
very practical. Literally pay attention to how good is the food. And when it starts being a bit meh, just don't eat anymore.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting the joy out of it. So that's the taste game. The other one is, that you can ask yourself, again, like a very practical thing you can ask yourself is, how is this choice or this food going to serve me right now? And it's really important to be okay with the fact that it might not be a nutritious fuel. Like that's not the only okay answer.
Yeah.
Especially at this time of year. This might serve you by being like, I really love Maltesers and it's the only time of year I get to have them and I'm going to flip and enjoy it because it brings me so much joy. That serves you in this moment. That's fine. It might be that my mum's made these gingerbread cookies because I've always told her they're my favourite and it makes my mum happy and that makes me happy. And that's a valid reason as well. But just going into it mindfully and knowing why you're making that choice can help.
For sure. I think it comes back to that like intentionality and then having some tools to help you through this season. Again, just to end up in a great place. You know what I mean? Like you want to get like new year, new me from, goal set, off we go and have the energy and be in a positive mindset to go ahead and take them. And it just all comes back to like intentionality, but then having tools to make your intentionality successful. Because I think that's where you can get tripped up. You can have good intentions and then lack the tools or practicality when these situations arise that put you in like, oh, what do I do now? Or what's the next step?
Yeah, have it in your back pocket. Next up on my little tips for mindful eating is don't multitask. Because it's very easy to not pay attention. If you're chatting away to somebody and drinking a glass of wine and picking at bits off the buffet table, you have no idea how much you're consuming. You're not really enjoying it. So choose one thing at a time. Like either focus on conversation, really enjoy that conversation with that person, leave the snacks till like a quieter moment.
So tough, isn't it? Because like typically when you're at like a Christmas party, you have got a drink in your hand at the same time as talking to someone.
Yeah, drink I think is easier because you can choose a lower calorie drink easier than a lower calorie mince pie. But I would definitely say, like, especially if you're sat at a big dinner table as well, there is that tendency to just, you're chatting away, people you haven't seen maybe for months, you're eating and eating and eating. You don't notice that you've gone past that point of full. And after, you're like, oh, I am so stuffed. And just deciding at any one point in time, like either have your fork ready to go in your mouth and not talk for a second, or focus on the conversation. And then when there's a pause in the conversation, take some more food. That can make a really big difference. It can slow you down, which gives you a chance to like pay attention to your body, get those fullness signals to hit, but also means you enjoy the conversation more and you enjoy the food more as well. So I think it's a very like British, I don't know if it's American as well, but it's a very like Celtic thing of like, there's a feast in front of us. Eat it. Whereas if you look at like Mediterranean culture, it's very like they dip in and out of the food. Like they can sit there with a platter in front of them for hours.
Yeah, I think America is very similar like that.
To us or them?
To us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So try to be more Mediterranean. Think about, imagine you're an Italian family sat by the water, slowly enjoying the food over a few hours.
Yeah.
Enjoying the whole ambiance of the scenario rather than just like the food is there, we must eat it right now.
Yeah. Because I feel that sometimes that like gluttonousness of just like kind of takes over with me a little bit. And I have to be mindful of that. And to the point now where like I've eaten a lot, like I can just keep eating, but I kind of know now. I mean, I often just need to just like wait 20 minutes and then the fullness hits me, because maybe I haven't been super aware, like as in like I've not been super mindful eating, but then the awareness kicks in of like how much I've actually eaten, and I'm like, all right, maybe I'll stop, even though I still sometimes feel hungry, and then 20, 30 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I'm actually full.
Up.
Yeah. So which is better because you don't feel like you need to have a nap. If you just keep eating, you get so full. You're like, yeah, I need to lie down.
That feels horrible.
Yeah, you feel so bloated and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that note, last one of these tips is that self-sabotage. When you've already done that to yourself And then you're just like, well, today's a write-off now anyway, isn't it? Might as well have the rest of the bottle of wine. Might as well have a chocolate ice cream. And it is so common. It's that like, I've got one flat tire, so why not go and slash the others mentality?
Yeah, which is you just have to remember, like you're only one bite away from stopping. You can be mid-meal and realize you've eaten too much and just decide you want to stop. Like literally in the moment while you're eating the food. And even if you've done that at breakfast, like I remember going, I think I've told this before, first time I went to Steph's mum's for breakfast, like I just couldn't turn off my MyFitnessPal head. And I'd eaten like 3 salmon bagels that had more.
3?
Yeah, that she just kept bringing them over to me. I kind of felt bad saying no. And they were just leathered in butter. And I think they had like cream cheese on and loads of salmon. And then I like started counting up like the fat. I was like, I've had like 150 grams of fat. And I was like, I was just trying not to like be like just overconsumed by it. But like that happened, and then I was like, oh God, I just actually want to eat a little bit less, because I already started to feel like the effects of it like an hour later, in terms of just like it's a lot of fat to take on board in like a short space of time. But you really can, like at any point you can just choose to stop, say no, take it back to like how you want to feel. Like, is this food serving you? Do you like it or do you love it? I think we haven't really touched on that as well. Like there is obviously, even on like Christmas Day, there's a lot of social pressure to eat. But
yeah, and how to say no to stuff without offending people, particularly at this time of year. If they've gone to a big effort to make a really special dinner or a special dish or a special dessert,
yeah,
it can feel quite
I
hard.
screwed myself because so before that, the first time I went to Steph's, a mum is a big feeder and made me like a roast dinner. So I had that, and then I got it as soon as we got in the car. I was like, I'm starving. And then Steph's like, what do you mean you're starving? She's like, why didn't you tell you could have eaten more food? You would have been my. I was like, oh no, I don't want to be cheeky and ask for more food. So then she tells her mum that. So then every time I go round now, her mum makes me the biggest like meal you've ever seen in your life, and it's coming back over and pouring more potatoes on my plate, or just trying to give me more food. Like, I know you're hungry still. I'm like, I'm actually really full, Stacia. But so, I've kind of shot myself in the foot, but obviously your relationship changes after you get to know people for a while, so it's easier to to say stuff like that. But I think sometimes, like, I'm a big component of like telling the truth. I think telling the truth and being honest, but I think sometimes the odd little white lie, like doesn't hurt. Like, you can say to people like, oh, I'm on this challenge, I can't have any more of these foods, or I'm like a little bit intolerant to that food. I mean, it's just kind of like, sometimes it's just like a bigger uphill battle to fight with someone who's like maybe put loads of effort into this food. Like, you actually want to eat less, but like confronting that with them can feel like offensive or whatever else. So it's just trying to navigate the situation a little bit better.
Yeah, and weirdly, people are way more accepting of something like that than just being like, oh, I just want to watch what I'm eating.
It's the same with alcohol as well. Like, you know what I mean? Especially in British culture, we just peer pressure, or everyone else peer pressures people to keep drinking or keep doing this. And it can be with food. So sometimes, you have to come up with these little ways of navigating certain situations with certain family or friends, so that if that's actually not in alignment with your values, like, you've found little ways of dealing with it.
So practical things you can do is, if you have practiced setting boundaries before, then literally just saying no. It feels so awkward, but you don't actually have to give a reason. You can be like, oh no, I'm fine, thank you. And that's enough. That feels so weird for so many people, to be able to just say no.
Yeah.
But that is enough. The other thing that I find really helpful is like, oh, I'm absolutely stuffed right now, but I'd love to take some home. So the person isn't offended. You can take it home. You can give it to your kids. You can give it to your partner, or whatever. Yeah. You can eat it tomorrow, but you're not in that pressure to eat it right now.
Yeah.
When that doesn't go with what you want to be doing. And then the other thing that I wanted to cover in a similar vein is having kids at this time of year also makes it harder, because they're like, can we make cookies? Can we buy this treat from the shop? Can we have an advent calendar? And there's all this extra stuff, which actually the rest of the year you can kind of control your environment a bit more and not offend anyone else. But this time of year you feel like the meanest mum ever if you keep saying no to all that stuff coming in your house. So how do you deal with that?
I mean, I haven't got kids yet. So, there is that side of it. For me, I actually get like a little bit of like food anxiety when that's happened. Like, I've had people buy, like, it has been, people have bought me like I used to went through a phase of liking yellow M&Ms and Oreos, and for like one of my birthdays, once I got like 30 bags of M&Ms and like 20 rolls of Oreos, and it was just there all the time, and I kind of felt like I should eat it. I did for like a week straight, and I just was like, this is either going in the bin or I'm giving it away. So I got Steph to take it into the hospital, and it was gone in a day. So that was kind of a way where I didn't feel like I was wasting the food, but I was able to get it out the house. For me and with some clients, I think it's just about setting like lines, like it's a little bit of indulgence is fine, but it's just like when that, goes over too much, just like the way you wouldn't want to give yourself 1,000 calories of chocolate every day. Like your kids don't need 1,000 calories of chocolate every day. In fact, not giving them that is going to give you a lot more peace.
Yeah. Actually, I've noticed this year for the first time, I don't know if it's because my son's old enough for the first time, but advent calendars, there are like toy or book advent calendars everywhere this year rather than chocolate ones.
Yeah.
Which is great. So they get like a little book every day or like a little piece of Lego so that by the end of the month they can
build something.
Yeah, they can build something. So I really like that actually there are more options now if you don't want it to all be about chocolate and food and sweets and all that kind of stuff. The other thing that I have had a lot of clients say is helpful is if they have been given stuff, chocolate, sweets, Christmas treats, and it is for the kids, if they actually put it in a box with a label for like each kid, divide it up, and the box is labeled as each kid's thing, even though mentally in your head you knew it was for the kids before, you probably would have dipped into it a little bit. But if it's in a specific box and it's labeled and you have to go and you have to open Nate's box and take something out of his box, there's a very more mental barrier there to do it. And that's been really helpful for some of my clients as well, to just like give them that moment of like, oh, I'm stealing from children here. So it makes it easier to stop yourself. And then the last thing really along that is communicating your goals with your loved ones. If they are open to that kind of conversation, I know not everybody's family is super understanding or supportive. But particularly if you've been working hard all year and people have seen you've made progress and they've been commenting me like, wow, you're doing so well, then that's a great time to be like, thanks so much. I really want to keep it up over Christmas. This is what I'm planning to do. And just have that very honest conversation if you feel like you can, because that will help an untold amount.
Yeah, for sure.
So just to summarize, we want to make sure that you guys can enjoy the Christmas season. It's not about not having any of these goodies, but it's about feeling in control and having intention, because it is one little snapshot in time. You only get so many Christmases in your life. If you've got little kids, you only get so many Christmases with little kids. Like live the moment, but do it mindfully, do it with intention. And actually, if you can slot into the average of like most people gain 1 to 2 pounds over Christmas, but then you're back on it as of January the 2nd or December the 26th, you know what? They will be gone in a week or 2 weeks, max. And then you're back where you were and you're chugging along towards your goal. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be like, I'm going to gain a little bit, but just a little bit, because I'm going to keep things a bit more in check this year.
And that's like keeping on top of your steps and keeping, drinking enough water and doing all these other little habits that don't always mean like exercise sessions or things that feel like taking up lots of time. It's just keeping the ball rolling and understanding that the ball should never really stop as long as we're prioritising our health and wellness. Yeah.
And if you do go completely off track and you wake up having that feeling of like, oh, why have I done this to myself? I've got to start again.
Yeah.
What's your top tips for somebody?
If you've completely gone off the rails, I think like first it's like awareness. So like, right, this has happened. I'm not happy with this situation. Cool. Second, like, what am I going to do about it? The best thing to do, I just find, like, little pen and paper, and you're just going to write out like, what are the 5 things that I need to do next? And you want to keep them as like low friction and as basic as possible. So it can be like, right, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to pack my bag to do a workout session tomorrow. I'm going to get back and eat a healthy meal tonight. And I'm going to make sure like tomorrow's food is in a great place. And just like write that out and literally go out and do your walk, check it off your list. Just create like a mini structure, because that's a big part of what people lose over Christmas when they're off is the structure and routine. And that is what can make you feel so out of sorts. Maybe you're waking up later, going to bed later, there's alcohol, there's all this food in the house. So it puts you a little bit out of sorts, and just having a little bit of a checklist and plan going into it really, really helps. Yeah.
Amazing. And if you do need a bit more structure and a bit more of a plan, we have got a New Year goal setting special coming up as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that landing on your feed.